Michael Jackson, a name synonymous with groundbreaking music and spectacular performances. Yet, behind the glitz and the glamour, lies a tale not many have heard. It's the story of the King of Pop's monumental History World Tour, a tour that, despite its massive success, saw Michael Jackson lose an astonishing $26 million. But how? How did one of the most successful artists of all time find himself in such a financial predicament? Was it the lavish production costs, unforeseen expenses, or something more? In today's deep dive, we're peeling back the layers of this sensational story. We'll explore the intricate details of the tour, the financial complexities, and the impact it had on Michael Jackson's career. At the height of Michael Jackson's career, it is hard to overstate how popular his music was and how many fans adored him. Thanks to how successful Jackson was, the idea that he ever had to worry about money is mind-blowing. By the time Jackson passed away, he'd been so bad with money that the estate he left behind to his mother and children was smaller than it should have been. A perfect example of how bad Jackson could be with money is that he somehow managed to lose money going on tour. Was Michael Jackson bad with money? Michael Jackson became famous when he was just a kid, and he stayed in the spotlight all his life until he passed away too soon. Thanks to his long-lasting success, the King of Pop earned hundreds of millions of dollars over his lifetime. Sadly, Jackson's spending habits during the peak of his fame were too much for his finances. This led to major financial issues later in his life, making him sell half of the Beatles' music catalog to Sony. Understanding the depth of Jackson's financial troubles, it's interesting to examine what led to them. The reason is straightforward. Jackson was known for excessive spending in nearly every area of his life. For instance, he spent a fortune on his children's school fees, which is somewhat understandable. Additionally, he famously invested a massive sum in transforming his Neverland Ranch into a wonderland. Jackson was especially known for his passion for spending huge amounts of money on various items, including movie memorabilia, art, and jewelry. One of the more unique purchases Jackson made was a pair of gloves worn by Johnny Depp in his role as Edward Scissorhands. Additionally, Jackson is said to have spent $1.5 million on the Oscar statuette awarded to Gone with the Wind for Best Picture. Unsurprisingly, Jackson spent a lot of money on some more unique items like several castings of his own face and a robotic replica of his own head. Another notable thing Jackson owned is an extensive car collection, a full arcade with loads of games, expensive paintings, and gold fixtures in his home. The History World Tour. The History World Tour was Michael Jackson's third and final solo concert tour, spanning from September 1996 to October 1997. This tour promoted his 1995 album, History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1, and was a significant event in his career. The tour included 82 concerts, with nearly 4.5 million people attending. It covered a vast geographic range, touching 44 countries in Europe, 19 in Asia, 11 in Australia, 6 in Africa, and 2 in North America. This made the History World Tour a truly global event, and it surpassed Jackson's prior Bad World Tour in terms of attendance and revenue. One notable aspect of the tour was its high-tech nature, setting it apart as one of Jackson's most advanced concert shows. The opening featured a video segment where Jackson piloted a spacecraft through various points in history, followed by his emergence from underneath the stage. The stage itself was a spectacle, featuring 2 statues of Jackson and being large enough to use a full curtain for the opening segment of Smooth Criminal. How did Michael Jackson reportedly lose money on tour? In 1996, Michael Jackson released the album History, Past, Present, and Future, Book 1, featuring a disc of greatest hits and another with new songs. Calling this album a huge success doesn't quite capture it. It achieved platinum status several times over in numerous countries. Given the enormous success of the album, it was a logical move for Jackson to go on a tour to promote it. After all, most musicians earn significantly more from touring than from album or single sales. Jackson kicked off the History World Tour in September 1996 and continued touring for over a year, wrapping up in October 1997. By the end of the History World Tour, nearly 4.5 million fans had witnessed his live performances. The reason why so many fans were able to see Jackson perform during the tour is that almost every concert was a sellout. Wikipedia notes that 98% of the available tickets for the History World Tour were sold, which is an incredible achievement. This is particularly remarkable considering that Jackson toured in various countries across different continents, and attracting such a vast number of fans globally is quite uncommon. With so many fans in attendance, Jackson should have been making a fortune during the tour. Despite that, Jackson's tour actually lost a staggering $26 million during the first leg of the tour, according to a man named Paul Gongaware. Paul Gongaware, now co-CEO of AEG Live, testified he was brought as tour executive for the 40 concerts that made up the second leg of the world tour. Michael Jackson insisted on keeping ticket prices low, choosing a range of $14.50 to $15.50 per ticket. This decision, along with the costs for sound, lighting, and other expenses, resulted in a $26 million loss, said Paul Gongaware. On the plus side, Gongaware was happy to mention how amazing Jackson's shows were on the tour. He said that Jackson's performances in front of the crowds were sensational. However, Gongaware says that he had to be brought on to the tour to save it from losing a fortune. I had to go in and cut a lot of expenses. There was so much excess. When someone claims they alone saved a big world tour from financial loss, it's not wise to just believe it without question. Such claims should be met with a lot of skepticism. But when it comes to Gongaware's statements about the financial troubles of Jackson's tour before he got involved, there's good reason to think he's telling the truth. Gongaware didn't make these claims while trying to boost his own image in an interview. He was speaking in a much more serious setting. After Jackson tragically passed away in 2009, his mother and children sued the company Gongaware worked for. In their lawsuit for wrongful death, Jackson's family claimed that AEG Live Nation negligently hired and supervised Dr. Conrad Murray. For anyone who doesn't know, Dr. Murray was the doctor for Michael Jackson when he died. After Jackson's death, Dr. Murray was convicted for giving Jackson the medicine that caused his overdose. In response to the lawsuit from Jackson's family, AEG Live Nation said they didn't hire Dr. Murray. They claimed Jackson hired him himself, and any money they gave to Dr. Murray was just part of a bigger advance payment they had given to Jackson. During the wrongful death lawsuit, the Jackson family filed against AEG Live Nation. Gongaware testified for the company. In his testimony, he mentioned that the first leg of Jackson's tour faced a $26 million loss. Gongaware stated in court that even after he stepped in and cut down costs, the tour didn't make a lot of money. According to him, the tour just managed to break even. However, it's important to note that breaking even was a much better outcome than what might have happened if the tour had continued on its previous path. In the end, the Jackson family's wrongful death lawsuit concluded with the jury deciding that AEG Live Nation did indeed hire Dr. Murray. However, the Jackson family still lost the case because the jury determined that the company had no reason to suspect Dr. Murray was unfit for the job he was hired to do. We've seen how a world-famous star had to deal with tough problems, especially with money. But even with these issues, Jackson's amazing talent and the happiness he gave to his fans around the world never changed. Michael Jackson's story is a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between artistry and its management, and how even the brightest stars face their own set of challenges. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories about Michael Jackson's music.